Welcome to week 4 of Cowork Mondays. My name is Scott Monday, and this is part 4 of my 6-part series on how to implement Claude Cowork into your organization, into your business, and into your personal life. Today is really fun because we're actually going to be taking all of these things we've done thus far and pulling them together into a daily brief. Now, I'm a firm believer that those who lead well and those who excel at their job have a really great method by which they understand what is the most important thing to work on each day. And today is about using Claude Cowork to help us determine what those items are. So let's dive into week 4 of Cowork Mondays. So here I am within Claude Cowork in the Claude desktop application. The desktop application is the only way that you can use Claude Cowork, so make sure that you have it open there and not in your web browser. And if you recall, over the previous weeks, we've signed up for a paid Claude account. We've added context to Claude, so Claude actually knows who we are, what we're doing, and what we're trying to accomplish. And then last week, we connected the various connectors within Claude. And so if you're like me, you've connected your email, your calendar, your file storage, and then I went ahead and added Fireflies, which we use for all of our note-taking, Descript, which I use for video creation and editing, and Canva, which I use for image creation and editing. So those are my current connectors that I'm using. Now, the first thing we want to do today is we want to decide what is actually going to go into our daily briefing. So if you recall, the purpose of a daily briefing is to just help you understand what's come in the past 24 to 48 hours and what you might need to focus on in the hours to come. And so some key elements you may want to consider as part of your daily briefing would be a look at your emails. So reading the emails that have come in, helping you figure out if there's any fires that need to be put out or anything that should go to the top of your to-do list today based on emails. Another element you may want to consider is your calendar. For example, what meetings you have coming up today or tomorrow that you might need to prepare for. And then a look at your task list. No matter where that task list lives, whether it be in an Apple platform, on Google Tasks, and a Kanban board like Trello or Asana, no matter where your task list lives, Cowork can go in and take a look at that and once again help you prioritize and triage what you need to focus on for the rest of the day. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to open a new task in Claude Cowork, and we're going to be using this method of testing a daily brief, dialing it in, and then turning it into a scheduled reoccurring task that occurs every morning. So what I'm going to do is use Whisperflow to create this prompt. Every weekday morning, I want a 1-page briefing. Pull from my email, my calendar, and my to-do list in Trello. Format it with a short intro paragraph, then a section for each source. Keep it under 500 words or so, and then show it to me right here in this chat. All right, so there's the prompt, and we're going to hit the up arrow. And then Claude Cowork is going to fire up a task here. And it's going to ask you a series of questions, orienting itself to how you want to source this information. Once again, depending on what you put into the prompt. This is where this video may not be helpful for you from an exact replication perspective. This is more going to show you how it behaves with me, and then you're going to need to adjust your approach accordingly because you use different tools than I use most likely. All right, so it asks me what time I want this prompt to be delivered. I'm just going to choose the earliest in the day. Now, this gives me a good opportunity to mention that scheduled tasks, which all live up here in the top left-hand side of your sidebar, what Claude has done recently is give you windows of time that are less optimal for your scheduled tasks to run. And what they've done is they've, in essence, said, if you want to run your scheduled tasks during very busy times of the North American workday, then we, Claude, are going to charge you more for that usage. It's trying to throttle back the use of its servers, and it's going to kind of penalize you for running your scheduled tasks during these certain windows. And I'll show you those in just a minute. All right, so what it wants to do is it wants to create the scheduled task for me right now, but I don't really want it to do that yet. So I'm actually going to say, I'm not ready to turn this into a scheduled task. I want you to just return my results for today right here so I can evaluate how successful you are in accomplishing this. All right, so we're going to actually hit the stop button here, and then we're going to upload that new little prompt and we're going to let it work. So anyway, Claude's pretty smart. What it wanted to do is automatically create a scheduled task for you. I'll go ahead and update the prompt here to help minimize the chance of that happening here going forward. All right, so you can see the little briefing it returned. It gives me a little intro paragraph. It identifies the items on my calendar. Once again, it just used the connector with my Gmail to go in and look at that. I walked through 5 emails or so that it felt were the highlights of what we needed to pay attention to. There's some bid opportunities here that need to be paid attention to. There is a slide deck that has been produced, which is great. I talked through some open items here, and it gave me a 420-word synopsis. Now, what it didn't do is it didn't go into my Trello board and look at my to-do list. So I'm just going to ask it, how come you didn't look at my task list in my Trello board? Now we'll see what it says. My guess is it's going to tell me that it doesn't have a connector to my Trello board, and then I will then work with Claude Cowork to develop that connection. See, it says right there, we don't have an MPC connection with Trello. No problem. It gives us a few options. Now what I'm going to do here is I want to utilize the power of Claude Cowork within Google Chrome. And I want Claude Cowork to actually take over my browser every day, open up a new tab, and look at my Trello tasks. So we're going to train Claude how to do this. Didn't realize this was going to be part of today's tutorial, but hey, let's do it. It's fun stuff. I want you to open up my Trello board in Claude each morning as part of this briefing and review my to-do list, which is going to be located on the far left-hand side of the Trello board. And here's the link for that Trello board. All right, I popped my Trello board link in there, and let's see if it wants to learn how to take a look at my to-do list. It's loading up tools. My guess is it will load Chrome. Yep, right there. It's loading up the Chrome browser. Fun, you can see it thinking and working through the process here. By the way, this is how I build almost all my scheduled tasks. I rarely start up here in the scheduled task folder. In fact, I can just show you that real quick while we wait. I rarely start by clicking new task here. You can, it works just fine. It will walk you through setting up a new task. But I actually prefer walking through a task with Claude and dialing it in with just a normal Cowork task interface. And then once I have it perfected, then telling Claude I want to turn it into a scheduled task, and Claude can absolutely do that right within a Claude Cowork task. Okay, there we go. You can see on my Chrome that Claude actually opened up my browser. You can see there's a Chrome group open with a little checkbox next to it, meaning that Claude has completed the work within this tab. And then you can see it opened up this tab automatically, and it looked at my to-do list right here, probably scrolled through and took a look at those items. And if I go back to Claude Cowork, you can see it summarized what I need to do. Need to make a dentist appointment, those types of things. All right, so what you'll want to do next is you want to evaluate the results that you get from your morning brief. And you can literally right here in the task tell Claude what changes you want to make. You can tell Claude different things you want to add to the brief, subtract from the brief. Genuinely, you make this brief your own so that it serves you the best. Once again, think of Claude Cowork like an actual human assistant, and you are telling he or she how you want him or her to behave differently in the days to come. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like to encourage you to come back to this task. Maybe a helpful thing to do would be to rename it, Creating My Morning Briefing. Okay, so we renamed it right here. And then click these little 3 dots right here, and you can actually pin this up to this group of tasks called pinned. It's pretty handy. And that's where I like to put tasks that I'm working on or I know I'll be coming back to in days to come. So what I want to encourage you to do is come back every morning and run this task again. So the next morning, I just pop into the text box here and I'd say, today is a new day. run my daily briefing again. I want to see how well you do. And then run it. And once again, see what breaks, see what does work, see what doesn't work. Make this daily briefing something that you really enjoy. All right, so let's say it's 3 or 4 days into the testing phase and you're now ready to turn this into a scheduled task. I went ahead and gave you this prompt in the step-by-step outline for the 4th week of Cowork Mondays. Take this morning briefing workflow and create a scheduled task that runs every weekday at 6:30 a.m. my time. Save each day's briefing as a dated file in this Cowork folder. All right, now what I'll do is I'll go in here and I'll click Add Folder, and I'll go into my Claude folder that we created in week 1 or 2, can't quite recall. And then I'll go to Personal, and I'll make a new folder that says Daily Briefing. So I'll click it, select Folder. Now, Claude Cowork knows what I want it to do, when I want it to do it, and what folder I want it to live in. All right, so about 20 seconds later, Claude comes back and asks if I would in fact like to create this scheduled task. So I will click Schedule. All right, excellent. Now, if I go back into my scheduled tasks, you will see a new morning briefing right here. You can click on it to open it up. You can click Run Now. For some reason, it does not run at the appointed time. So a couple things to point out about scheduled tasks. Number one, they'll only run if your computer is on and Claude Cowork is open, right? So you can't shut down your computer at night and expect it to run scheduled tasks overnight. If you don't have your computer on at the time of a scheduled task, then when you open Claude Cowork for the first time, it will then run all of your scheduled tasks at the same time if they've already passed. So if I open my computer up at 8 a.m., it will go back and run a 6:30 a.m. task for me. If for some reason it doesn't, and I'd say 5% of the time, the scheduled tasks don't automatically run if your computer's not open at the appointed time, you just click this black Run Now button. So another thing I want to point out is, like I mentioned earlier, Claude does penalize your tokens, your AI usage, if you run your scheduled tasks during certain windows of time. So anyway, open up your scheduled tasks and take a look. If you see this little triangle with an exclamation point in the middle, just read the parameters of it. It will tell you what time zone that you're in that it's trying to restrict. And you can, of course, edit your scheduled tasks and change the time that it runs just by going into Edit Scheduled Task. Here you can make edits to the task if you want to just literally hard type in edits. That's one way you can do it. Or you can always go back to the original thread that you used to create a scheduled task. Or you can go into any instance of that scheduled task and you can tell Claude to make edits to it. So let's say it ran my daily brief a week from now and I want to make edits. I can say something like, do a deeper dive into my email each morning and remember this for all future scheduled tasks. So if I pop that in, you'll see here that it's working on updating the scheduled task. And usually what happens is it will present me with a little button that says like update scheduled task. And once I click that, it then updates. Yep, there we go. It then updates the morning briefing for me automatically. Boom. So I don't have to go into that scheduled task and edit it. I can, once again, just edit it either in the original task where I created the scheduled task or in any reoccurring usage of that scheduled task. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed Cowork Mondays Week 4, where we created a daily briefing that actually goes into our email, our calendar, and our task platform and helps us properly prepare for the day to come. In week 5, we're going to be addressing our most difficult or frustrating workflows by using Claude Cowork, not so much for us to tell it how to handle the workflow, but to use Claude Cowork to help us understand how it might help us handle the workflow. So a switch from us telling the AI what to do to the AI helping us figure out what it does best. Kind of a cool concept. My name is Scott Monday. This is Cowork Mondays Week 4. Thank you so much for watching.